Ja Morant, we all saw it with the second pick of the draft. The Memphis Grizzlies selecting sophomore from Murray State, Ja Morant. So Ja Morant is an electric player playing the point guard position from Murray State. He is a player that shows great athleticism, great speed, and in particular, I like the fact that he has a scoring mind. Despite having defenders on the lane, despite having shot blockers significantly taller than him in the lane, waiting for him to drive and looking to block his shot, Ja Morant looks to make adjustments in midair to avoid a block, take the necessary contact, and still finish in the paint area. So one of the things about Ja Morant that also allows him to get into the paint area in the first place is his combination of hesitation dribbles and crossovers to throw the defenders off guard in the perimeter. Another thing that he does is he is able to shoot the ball from three-point range, 37% free throw three-point shooter, and this is well behind the three-point line. So defenders need to get up close up on him, by which time he can blow right by them. Ja Morant's ability to take that contact and finish at the line is something that gives us a glimpse at his mindset. And that mindset is the mindset of a competitor, the mindset of someone who, no matter what, will want to win, and the mindset of someone who will never give up. At least on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to see him doing those acrobatic moves, crossovers, hesitation, drop back threes, and those quite well-known finishes in traffic or after contact. In terms of size, Ja Morant is not known for just being a big physical player. He is a 6.3 foot guard weighing only 170 pounds, and he's got a wingspan of 6'6". So yes, he is slim. He is able to, because he's got that wide wingspan, he's able to extend his arms when he's trying to dunk, reach over for a shot, or even block a shot. It does give him that advantage. The one thing I like is that because of his light frame, he does show a good deal of explosiveness when he goes airborne. So his vertical leaping abilities are quite spectacular to watch. In terms of his accolades, he is a first-team All-American. He is a player that as a sophomore had 3 triple-doubles, which basically raised a lot of eyebrows. And his collegiate career record is 49-11. Coming out of Crestwood High School in Sumter, South Carolina, he was not recruited as heavily as some other basketball players were. However, when he arrived at Murray State, he made an impact right out of the bat. So folks that thought that he came out of nowhere, he did have an impact. So as a freshman, he was first team all-conference honors, and this is in the Ohio Valley Conference. And by the sophomore season, he won the Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year and led the NCAA in assist. By the way, speaking of assist, as a sophomore, he also became the first player in NCAA history to average at least 20 points and 10 assists. Let's start talking about his weaknesses first, and most of these are on the offensive end. One area where he could improve is on pick and rolls, where he is defending the person with the ball, and someone comes in to basically pick him, and he has been caught and trapped in that pick and roll several times. So many times is awareness of the player that's coming in to set the pick. Many times is make sure that if you're going under the pick or over the pick, you know where the player with the ball is so that he doesn't get enough space. Another area of defensive needs is Sometimes when the player that he is defending does not have the ball, sometimes he gives that player a little bit too much room, or if the player happens to be behind them, forgets of the location of that player to be able to get right up in his face. Another area of improvement on the defensive side is related to when there is a switch and Ja Morant has to defend a player that's playing a different position. May not be as inherent to a point guard position to be able to defend much taller defenders, but when he's been caught in a switch, the offense of those opposing players have been able to take advantage of putting a mismatch position on Ja Morant. On the offensive end, some weaknesses are related to his propensity to commit some turnovers, such as situations where he goes up for a layup or a dunk, caught in a situation where he's up in the air and he's got no shot and has to kick the ball out to an open defender, and finds out that there's very little time to make a decision once you're up in the air. Sometimes it has to do with him trying to go over a couple of defenders to find an open man. In a few other cases is because his aggressiveness, sometimes he will try to drive into the paint where sometimes he's been doubled or split the defense, or a situation where it will make contact with another player, the ball or a part of his body that will lead to a turnover. I will expect at least to see that his career, as he improves as a player, his skills, his basketball IQ, those ill-advised moves will go away and his turnover ratio will decrease significantly. Now let's look at his strengths. The first one I like to talk to is his assists. Leading the NCAA in assists is no easy feat, and seeing a sophomore as Ja Morant was able to accomplish this is a result of a few things. One of them is great vision. We've seen some of those plays where he may have the ball all the way in the backcourt and see an open man raising down court on the other end and throwing that almost Hail Mary-like pass that is right on the money for that other player that's able to either finish with a dunk or a layup. We've seen many of those passes where he's driving into the lane, and as the defenses collapse, it almost seems like he already knows where his open man is going to be and throws a no-look pass to that man in that right spot where he's open. So his ability to pass, his great vision on the court is very unique, and it's something that NBA teams like very much. Why is this? Because it improves the overall effectiveness of the team. It improves what other players can do and contribute when they are benefiting from the cuts and passes that a player such as Ja Morant could bring to the table. Another strength that I like to focus on quite a bit is his speed. So many players in college or in the NBA that were good players at one point or another, and you see them that they no longer are able to get themselves open as much, and sometimes you're scratching your head and you wonder, why is that? And that usually, for the most part, 9 times out of 10, is because they lost a step. As speed decreases, defenders are able to stay on your face and not able to give you an easy shot. Well, Ja Morant has the gift of speed, and because of this, he can blow by defenders. He can do some hesitation dribbles. He can do some crossover dribbles. He can do a combination of them both hesitation and crossover. Or if a player backs off to make sure that doesn't end up chasing after Ja Morant, then he can just stay back, pull over from 3-point range, and deliver the dagger. In terms of his strength, is something that is easily overlooked by looking at his size and weight. 6'3", 170 pounds. It's kind of a scrawny size for NBA standards nowadays. However, if you watch him play, and if you watch any of the NCAA games in which he played, whenever he went into the paint and there was contact, he was able to finish. But it wasn't just the fact that he was able to finish. If you look closely, you see that he's able to absorb the contact. He anticipates that contact and still manages to finish by trying to stay airborne, make adjustments to that shot, and make sure that ball goes in. The last and probably most important strength that Ja Morant has is not a physical attribute. It is the mental attribute. And that mental attribute is that thirst or that appetite for winning, for making sure that you can do whatever is at your disposal to try to ensure that you will win that game and do what it takes. If you watch closely, you'll notice that manifests itself in the form of a balanced passing and scoring game. So for him, whether it's a pass that leads to the basket or a score that he does himself, it does not matter. As long as the job gets done, that is rare. And that's the reason why the NBA took notice of Ja Morant. That is the reason why the Memphis Grizzlies picked him in the second overall pick in the draft. And that is the reason why Ja Morant will have a successful NBA career. This is Hoops Imagined.